Hi, I'm Dr. Chris Willard. I'm here with the Glenbar Parent Series. We had a wonderful evening talking to parents of all age kids, but including teenagers. And teenagers, of course, are a real challenge. In fact, many of us as parents, we can feel like, oh, I got this parenting thing down, and then somewhere around puberty and adolescence, everything really changes. And so I really encourage parents, actually, it's a great chance to educate yourself with your kids, to talk about what's happening, not just those awkward body change conversations, but also those, just like how the brain is changing, how their lives are changing and different pressures going on. The other thing that we know about teenagers is that this big study a few years ago was trying to figure out who's the most stressed out person in the country. And actually what they found is that teenagers are now the most stressed out demographic group in the country, which is really disturbing, right? We're putting more and more pressure on our kids. At the same time that we're doing that, right, there's more and more just things in the world, right? School shootings or viruses or environmental catastrophes or financial meltdowns, right? Kids are really worried about the future. And then we're giving them fewer resources for how to deal with that. To me, this is where mindfulness can be really helpful in helping shut off or turn down the volume in some ways on that stress response that's built into us. Because what happens is that stress that kids are under as teenagers, it starts to turn into all these things that we worry about, into anxiety, into depression, into aggression, into addiction, into eating disorders, into internet addictions and all these other things. When kids learn how to regulate their stress, and maybe that's through mindfulness or something else, but to me, through mindfulness, it can be almost like a public health intervention, right? Like, here we are, you can learn this skill now. It'll be good for your brain, good for your body, and that'll help you when you're off to college, when you're off into the world. Because one thing that we're seeing for kids is that they get off to great colleges, they get off into great places in the world, but they start to fall apart when they get there because they don't have some of those internal resilience skills that they need. Now, mindfulness, breathing, mind-body practices, what these actually do is, the way I put it is, if you can regulate your breath, then you can regulate your body, and you can regulate your brain, and then you can regulate your emotions, you can regulate your attention, and you can regulate your impulses. I mean, aren't these what all of us parents want for our kids to be able to do? And then it's actually rewiring the brain so that what's happening is we're building stronger connections, new connections in the brain, in some of the places that we worry about the most. The prefrontal cortex up here, this is like where we manage our impulses and make good plans for the future and things like that. That starts to grow new connections. The sides of our brain, the insular cortex, where our social reasoning, our empathy, our compassion, taking perspective, that starts to grow new connections. The stress and alarm system in the brain, the amygdala and limbic system, that starts to kind of quiet down, even get a little bit smaller when we practice mindfulness. It's really amazing. And as far as what you can do, rather than talk about mindfulness, I think I can share a few practices that would be helpful. But with teens, it's things like just learning how to regulate your breath, something like the 7-11 breath. Breathe in, counting up to 7. Breathe back out, counting out to 11. Doing that for about a minute, that actually gets our breath into this ideal range of about 4 to 6 breaths in a minute, and that's going to help settle the body's nervous system. It's going to activate the prefrontal cortex, the insular cortex, which helps our kids focus, helps them focus for the long term, helps them, again, take other people's perspective, that kind of thing. And kids actually really like this. They like hearing, oh, this can help me, not just on my SATs, but it can help me on the basketball court. It can help me when I have to make that class presentation. I can just take a moment to feel my feet on the ground, right? Is the ground hard or soft? Are my feet warm or cool, right? Slow my breath down to that 4 to 6 in a minute range, right? Now I can do the class presentation. I can ask that person out on the date, right? I can do the college interview. I can take the driver's test. These kinds of things are so helpful and empowering for teenagers, or they can listen to music mindfully. Just put on your favorite song, listen to, just one instrument in the song, or notice all the sensations you feel in your body as you listen to that song, right? All of these things can be so helpful for our teenagers as they learn how to manage their stress, as they learn how to manage their emotions, as they really build their brains to be more resilient for when they launch in the world, they can really thrive and not end up back in our basements, right? Which is not what we want. And this is where mindfulness and other practices like this can be so helpful for our teens. Not to mention, stress is contagious. Stressed out teenager means stressed out parents. And so the more we can kind of be rolling with it, as our kids are going through those adolescent ups and downs, right? Can we take a pause? Can we breathe? Can we manage our own anxiety and stress as we watch them on this roller coaster or feel like we're on it with them? That's going to help them as well, because what they need are really calm, stable, predictable parents. And so the more we can practice mindfulness too, the better. So again, this is where mindfulness, I think, can really help us and help our kids really thrive and build more resilience.